Hello everyone, it is the Afro Avenger with another album review, and today's album is I Love You Honeybear by Josh Tillman, aka Father John Misty. This album was released February 10th of 2015, February 9th in the UK. Some chart information, it peaked at number 3 on the US Billboard Top Alternative Albums, number 2 on the US Billboard Folk Albums, and number 17 on the US Billboard 200. It was released on the labels Bella Union in the UK and Sub Pop everywhere else, and its singles were Bored in the USA and Chateau Lobby number 4 in C for 2 versions. So without further ado, let's get this started. This will be Josh Tillman's second solo album after his runs with bands like Saxon Shore, Harmar Superstar, and of course Fleet Foxes. He takes on the name of his alter ego Father John Misty in this sarcastic, graphic, personal life story. Personally, I thought this was one of the best albums of last year, and all for good reasons. It takes a common theme like love and relationships, and instead of doing the typical thing like talking about breakups or things like that, it makes a lot of dark jokes, sarcastic statements, and utilizes quite a bit of black humor. Although you probably wouldn't know it on first listen, it really isn't until you analyze the lyrics that you'll understand. For example, the first track, which is the title track, I Love You Honeybear, is referring to Father John Misty's lover as Honeybear, but he's gone on record to say that he's never called anybody that name before. Much of the song is like an autobiography on his relationship with his wife, Emma. However, it uses a lot of relationship cliches, such as the nickname Honeybear, for example, in order to kind of make fun of the typical relationship tropes. A lot of that kind of stuff is what's going on in this album. With all that being said though, Father John Misty does, as a matter of fact, have moments of pure emotion and has a solemn attitude, such as on the second track, Chateau Lobby number 4 in C for 2 versions. It's talking about when he and his wife Emma first met and started going out. The title is most likely reference to John Lennon and Yoko Ono's avant-garde album 2 Virgins, which was recorded during the night right before they became a couple and had sex for the first time, albeit John was already married. A lot of the song kind of plays on the theme of virgins in general, such as virgins having sex for the first time and relating it back to falling in love for the first time. Around the middle and towards the end, a mariachi band is included along with the very classic folky style. It is worth mentioning that this is, for the most part, a folk album. It varies every now and then, such as on the track True Affection, which is actually an electronica track, much in the vein of bands like Animal Collective. But a lot of the tracks contain a kind of Simon and Garfunkel feeling, but with a lot more. Father John Misty really fills every bit of musical space he can with the instruments, and so while it's mostly a folk album, it doesn't feel empty in the slightest instrumentally. Funny enough, True Affection is actually about how he talked to people a lot through electronic devices as opposed to face-to-face, and Misty wants to talk to his lover in person in order to show her true affection. If you know what I'm saying. Being that Misty's wife Emma is the entire muse for this album, the vast majority of the tracks on here are about her, as well as his relationship with his wife, often going into deep detail about the various things that they do together, or the feelings that they share between each other, as well as the various challenges they face, or just Father John Misty's own personal struggles. When You're Smiling and Astride Me is another good example, having a bit of a soul influence mixed with a bit of country and indie rock, as well as Strange Encounter, which is about Misty giving his love away too often to too many people, usually for one-night stands. Nothing Good Ever Happens at the Goddamn Thirsty Crow, a rather descriptive title indeed, is about Misty describing his wife, giving her compliments, but at the same time juxtaposes them with rather indecent or insensitive lines, such as an early line that says, "She blackens pages like a Russian romantic, gets down more often than a blow-up doll," which is meant to compliment her amazing writing skills, as well as her oral sex skills in the same line. Perhaps one of the most sarcastic tracks on the entire album is The Ideal Husband. Quite a rocker, this track goes through 2 verses of Misty listing off a whole bunch of terrible things he's done in his life, drunk driving, hating people, bribing siblings, and other bad things, but in the final verse, he tells his lover that despite all this, as well as it all being public knowledge, he'd make a perfect husband and father, almost in a nonchalant manner. It plays on the idea that some men have done a lot of awful things in their life and continue to do them, but feel that despite all that, they'd make for a suitable baby daddy. Coming close to the end of the album, we have the single Bored in the USA, which is an obvious reference to Bruce Springsteen's mega hit Born in the USA. Both singles deal with similar topics of criticizing the thoughts and actions of people, but as opposed to Springsteen's political message, this track has much more of a social message, criticizing those who spend day after day wasting their time not doing much of anything. It's a gorgeous little piano ballad with a string arrangement in the background. This track perhaps displays some of Misty's best use of wordplay, such as, "How many people will rise and say, 'My brain's so awfully glad to be here for yet another mindless day,' for example." The track Holy Shit was actually written on Josh Tillman's wedding day, and much of it was just him going through what he was feeling at that moment, which was a mixture of both positive and negative feelings, as well as giving his opinion on a lot of America's ideals, many of them being oxymorons and satirical statements. While on the final track, I went to the store one day simply going through Misty's life with his wife, Emma, from the day they first met to the present and to the future, kind of bringing the whole album for a full circle and wrapping it all up. Overall, incredible record, very emotional, and practically on a Bob Dylan level of lyrical greatness. In fact, much of the lyrics make the majority of this album for me. The music, of course, is beautiful, but the lyrics are what truly tell the story. And like I said, unless you check out the lyrics, it'll be a little difficult to really understand the full story going on in this album. Although, it's not super complex or anything like that, it's just that many of the lyrics contain all the stories and events that have been going on throughout Misty's life. This album has many beautiful points such as When You're Smiling and Astride Me and Chateau Lobby No. 4, as well as very many deep, dark points, like on The Ideal Husband and Nothing Good Ever Happens at the Goddamn Thirsty Crow. Still, each track is really great. The one that stuck out the most was True Affection, mainly because it had influences of electronic pop as opposed to the folk, indie rock found throughout the rest of the album. It's a nice track, but in the flow of the album, it's a weird shift because it makes you think that maybe other tracks will be similar to that one, but none of them are. It's unique in that sense, but perhaps kind of breaks the flow simply because of its style. Other than that, I enjoyed every track going here. My favorites were Chateau Lobby No. 4, True Affection, When You're Smiling and Astride Me, Strange Encounter, The Ideal Husband, and Bored in the USA. I recommend this album to anyone who's into folk, indie rock, country, blues, and I would say electronica, but only one track is like that on this entire album. Anyways, that does it for this another album review. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed. And if you did enjoy, please hit the like button and also subscribe if you want to see more. And if there is a song or an album that you want to see reviewed on this channel, leave a comment down below or check out my Facebook or my Twitter. The links are in the description. Anyways, I will see you all in the next video. Thank you all again for watching, and so long.